Hello everyone. Welcome to our channel, Movie Recap. Today we are going to recap the movie, Look Who's Back, released in 2015. Let's explore how Hitler wakes up to find himself in the 21st century. Spoilers ahead, watch out! This German satirical comedy film begins somewhat where the Second World War in Berlin. The Führer Hitler is with a behavior coach named Keppel. Hitler expresses his disagreement with the gesture of people's greeting to Keppel. He complains that the Nazi salute is out-fashioned, people need to at least raise their hands to the wrist and show respect. In the following scene, he wakes up on the ground somewhere in a forest. While looking up at the sky, he sees that the enemy aircraft are missing and guesses that they might have taken some rest. Suddenly a ball comes bouncing toward him and stops just at his side. He raises himself and heads towards a building past the trees. He is then approached by three young kids who question him if he is okay. Hitler looks at them and thinks that they are the future of the nation. He then asks them the way to the street. In that instant, a reporter, Fabian Sawatzki, is filming the kids on his camera. Hitler is seen on the far side of the screen. He picks up his army cap and says to himself that he should go to the Führer bunker. Hitler gets to the street and gets amazed at people riding monowheel bikes. He finds people capturing him in their cameras and expresses that though the rubble went, people have gone mad. Then, he feels a modern car by his hand and questions himself if he fell into a coma and missed the victory. He realizes that he is not aware of his situation totally and alerts himself to collect more information. Then, he asks a man about the location of Chancellery, but the person instead asks him for a picture. He gets disturbed by the camera's flashes as people come near him and takes photos in turns. Confused by the unusual events around him, he concludes something went out of hand in the place. As Hitler walks away, he finds a woman speaking in German on her phone. He comes closer and asks her about the current date, but the woman gets terrified and sprays his eyes. Hitler cries in pain as his eyes get reddish and his vision gets blurred. He stumbles and walks to a newspaper shop nearby. He gets shocked to see the date October 3, 2014, written on the paper and falls to the ground at once. Somewhere else, the boss of a TV station, Karner, praises Mr. Christoph Sensenbrink for his excellent job as the deputy's head. He proposes a higher solution but instead announces another worker named Miss Claudia Bellini as the managing director. Due to this, Christoph gets shocked and dissatisfied. He comes to his office and vents his anger out at a struggling filmmaker named Fabian. Despite Fabian's best attempts to convince his boss, he gets fired and thrown out by the guards. Sometime later, Hitler wakes up at the news shop and asks the owner about the date. He confirms that it is 2014. A confused Hitler questions if the shopkeeper has kidnapped him and suspects that all this is a trick play of the enemy's secret service. He threatens to kill the shopkeeper if he is working for the enemy, but the shopkeeper gives him a bar of chocolate instead. Hitler opens it after quite a struggle and sniffs it. He declares it as industrially pressed grain and questions the shopkeeper if there is still a shortage of bread. Hitler gets astonished at the presence of Turkish people in Berlin. He then starts collecting information from the newspaper. While reading it, he assumes that he didn't win the war in the past and Germany was given to the hands of clumsy women having the charisma of a wet noodle. He further laments the existence of Poland and concludes the war to be a total waste. Meanwhile, Fabian looks upon his video reporting about soccer and sobs, sad at the fact that he was fired. His mother calms him and asks him to pause the video, noticing Hitler behind. Fabian is amused at the discovery of a person who looks so similar to Hitler. Back in the shop, the shopkeeper asks Hitler to keep the newspaper aside and stand outside. Hitler grudges at being asked to work. The shopkeeper suggests Hitler clean his clothes, for they are stinking. He then goes to a laundry place and asks them to clean his uniform. Hitler asks if they have another uniform since he cannot walk away naked. Next, we see Hitler walking to the news cellar with jeans and a sweater on. Fabian, on the other hand, has somehow managed to find him and is waiting for him in the shop. After getting a look at Hitler, he is amazed at his appearance. Fabian asks Hitler if he can film him as he marches through modern Germany. Hitler agrees with the idea. Fabian takes up some cash and a car from his mother and starts his journey with Hitler. The two end up in a hotel where Hitler gets amused at seeing the television. He then decides to talk about politics in Fabian's presentation. He goes to places asking people about their views on politics. After the interviews, he finds that there was minimal impact of democracy upon people during his absence. A while later, the two end up on a farm where Hitler gets bitten by a dog. He is enraged and shoots at the animal. Fabian scolds him and seizes the gun. As the tour goes on, Fabian eventually runs out of cash. But he thinks of a plan and convinces the passers to have their sketches drawn by Hitler. Hitler draws sarcastic pictures which people find funny and pay for it. They continue their trip after collecting enough money. Back in town, Fabian shows a clip of Hitler to Christoph. The video has a lot of views as Fabian had uploaded it on the internet. Christoph is impressed by the large number of views in the video. He asks Fabian for Hitler's name and contact number. After meeting him, Christoph suspects Hitler is a lunatic and asks Fabian to take him away from the office. Before leaving, Hitler enters the director's office and asks her to save Germany together with him. Interested in the idea, Bellini asks him about the plan. She quickly asks her assistant to prepare a proper TV format for broadcasting the Führer listening to Hitler's ideas. Fabian then threatens Christoph to give him his job back or else he will take Hitler away. On hearing this, Christoph makes him a kitchen boy, promising to promote him when a new editorial post opens up. Sometime later, Hitler is given a table in the TV studio. Christoph calls for Kromier to help Hitler with computer use. Hitler recalls the computers of his days and labels the invention to be one of the greatest. The show starts, and Witzigmann, the host, calls for Hitler on the stage. The audience gossips about Hitler's appearance, but when Hitler gazes at the audience, the hall gets completely silent. Hitler soon breaks the silence but does not read out the lines as scripted. He explains that he is to tell a joke about immigrants, but he is not going to do so. He says that a TV is a great invention of the human, but the shows broadcasted are nonsense. He sheds light on problems like poverty and unemployment and forecasts that the people of the country are heading toward the abyss without noticing it. In the following scene, we see Hitler give interviews on numerous TV shows and share that his motive is to make Germany great again. His popularity grows immensely and he meets several people and party leaders. He starts charming them all by sharing his ideas. One day, Hitler and Fabian visit NPD headquarters in Berlin. He calls for Ulf Bern, the federal chairman of NPD, and asks him what his cause has achieved so far. Hitler belittles him and says that they have wasted enough time, and the movement is taken aback by decades due to their words. Christoph gets excited and happy when the cops and district attorney appear at the TV studio. They explain that they are here for a complaint of charging violation of hate laws. Bellini asks what they are to do then. Quickly, Christoph pops up that they might need to cancel the Führer show. The DA says that they can keep the broadcasting on. Bellini takes a sigh of relief while Christoph fakes his smile. After the DA leaves, Kromier hands over a letter to Christoph stating the payment of the dog that Hitler had shot earlier in his trip. Christoph receives the letter happily, believing it might be a way to cause trouble. Christoph gets happier seeing people's negative responses. After the disastrous interview, Bellini is fired, and Christoph is appointed as the new manager. After that, Hitler goes to Fabian's house and starts living with him. He expresses amusement at the path taken by destiny and starts to write his second book. The book soon hits the market. 3 months later, at the TV studio, everyone sits in a meeting where the massive loss that the company has gone through is discussed. Hitler and Fabian come to Kromier's house where Kromier's grandmother identifies Hitler. She claims that Hitler gassed all the people up and killed them. She calls him a criminal and shouts at him to get out. In the car, Hitler shares that he is surprised at Kromier being a Jew. Bellini says that he is headed to the shooting set. Fabian reveals that he is the real Adolf Hitler, but Bellini does not believe him. Fabian acts mad and tries to explain his theory hysterically. The guards try to catch him, but he flees. Fabian then reaches the set and aims a gun at Hitler. When asked about his identity, Hitler explains that he never claimed to be anyone else. Hitler then asks everyone to remember the comrades who could not be with them. Somewhere else, Kromier is sobbing seeing Fabian through a hole in the mental ward. Hitler and Bellini are busy giving autographs and interviews to people after the film booms. As they pass by a car, the people on the street seem fond of Hitler and greet him with respect. Thank you for watching and do like, comment, share, subscribe, and hit the bell icon.